guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm back with another recent reads and I'm super excited about this one because I have several books that I am really excited to share with you guys because I enjoyed them so much. Specifically, 2 of them I rated 5 stars. So we are actually going to save those for the end. However, I do have some other books that I need to tell you guys about. So we'll talk about those first. So first, I want to start off with all of the books that I read that I do not have physical copies of. The first one being Dark is When the Devil Comes by Daisy Pierce. This is a adult horror. This is actually a arc that I received from NetGalley like back in March or April. So this book is already published. So in this one, we're following 2 sisters and a friend of the sisters. The main sister we follow, I believe her name is Hazel. And Hazel is having a really rough time right now. She is currently going through a divorce. She decides that she's gonna go home back to her parents' house so that she can house sit for them while they take this really long cruise. And so she's gonna try to get her life together. The first day that she's there, she disappears. And now we follow her sister, Kathy, and then their friend, Susie. And Kathy and Susie believe something strange is happening. They don't think that she would have just vanished on her own. And so we're following them as they are trying to figure out what happened to Hazel. I gave this one 2 stars. I was extremely bored for a majority of the story. There were parts of the story that I actually really liked because it did give me that creepy, eerie, unsettling feeling because Hazel has this thing where she can see things that aren't there. I'm trying to be very vague because I don't want to ruin anything, but she can see things that are not there. And when we get those moments, they are truly creepy. However, outside of that, I just did not care about any of the characters that we were following. Sometimes it was hard to even distinguish between whose POV we were reading from. Like I would have to be in that POV for a little bit in order to even remember who this person was. And I just wasn't that interested in the story. I almost wanted to DNF it several times. I'm trying not to DNF my arcs. I just wasn't that captivated by the story. Like I said, it had its moments. There weren't enough of those moments for me to have really enjoyed this one. And I was really excited about this because I had been wanting to read something from this author. So I was a little bit disappointed, but I did give this one 2 stars. Another arc that I received from NetGalley, this is another book that's already published. Please forgive me, I am trying to keep up with my arcs. But this is The Breakup Retreat by Camilla Steen. I'm not really sure how to say her last name, but this is a adult thriller and I was also really excited about this one. So in this, we're following this journalist and she decides that she's gonna do some undercover investigative journalist work at this place that's considered the Breakup Retreat. And this is a retreat where these women go where they are supposed to get help from this therapist lady in recovering from their breakups. However, the reason why our main character wants to go there and dig a little deeper is because that there have been women that have gone to this retreat and they have never returned. And so she wants to get to the bottom of it and wants to find out what is going on. I rated this one 3 stars. Upon further reflection, I think 3 stars was a bit generous for this one. I was really invested in it in the beginning because this was giving cult vibes. I love a good cult story, and this is what the story was giving in the beginning. This story also includes a bit of mixed media, so we're getting these Reddit posts and comments from Reddit posts and some articles scattered throughout the story, and it does tie back into the story. There is a reason why we're getting those posts, and I actually did like that part, but the middle of the story really dragged for me. It was to the point, this is another one where I almost wanted to DNF it. I am happy that I continued on until the end because I do think that the last third of the story saved it for me. I was invested, even though I still am not that sold on the twist and the reasoning behind everything, but I was entertained enough to keep going. So had this not dragged so much in the beginning, I probably would have enjoyed it a little bit more. Again, I do think 3 stars is generous, but because I really like the beginning and because I like the end, I kind of felt like that was the correct rating for this. But yeah, 3 stars. So another 3-star read that I have, this is one that I listened to on audio from Libro FM. This is I Didn't Do It by L. Gonzalez Rose. This is a YA thriller. So in this, we are following our main character, and her name's Dina, and she's had a rough go because her father was actually a convicted murderer. And so Dina and her mom have kind of like really struggled because they are always being scrutinized. At school, Dina is being made fun of, and so she doesn't really have a lot of friends or anybody that she can really talk to. This one guy at school ends up inviting her to this cabin for the weekend. And she's like really excited to go because finally she's getting to be, you know, a normal teenager. However, during that weekend, people start to show up dead, and the police are zoning in on Dina, especially because she is the daughter of a murderer, and the story just kind of takes off from there. So this story is told primarily through Dina's POV, also through mixed media as well, specifically police transcripts. And it's kind of like recounting what happened. So in the police transcripts, you already know that something happened that weekend, and they're kind of alluding to different events that took place over the weekend, and then we're getting what actually happened through Dina's POV. I enjoyed this story for the most part. Like I said, this is another one that I gave 3 stars. I do think that the beginning was a little slow. It took a little bit of time for things to start happening, but once she got to the cabin for the weekend, the story really started to pick up. I actually liked the twist that we got. I actually liked the ending and how kind of ambiguous it was. Like, you really don't know what the conclusion of the story is. Sometimes that works for me, sometimes it doesn't. I thought it was very fitting for this story, and I liked how it was told between Dina's POV and the police transcripts. This is like one that I would compare to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I feel like if you like that story by Holly Jackson, then I would suggest that you check this one out. And this is one that I would specifically check out on audio just because of it was a full cast and how they were able to incorporate those interviews. It was a nice touch. So I enjoyed this one. So the last one that I don't have a copy of, it's one that I really enjoyed. It's another arc that I got from NetGalley. This is a story that came out like April, May, and I'm just getting around to it, but that's okay. I finally read it. But I have to look at the name of this because I've practiced trying to say it, and I feel like I say it different every time, and I don't think I'm saying it correctly. But it's Obstetrix. I think it's Obstetrix by Naomi Kritzer. And this is a adult thriller. And this for sure is a cult story. That's what it is. And if you guys are into cult stories, I would definitely check this one out because I was highly entertained. So in this one, we're following this doctor, and she is struggling with trying to find a job because previously she had performed an abortion in a state where abortions are illegal. And the reason why she did it was because of a medical emergency. However, that did not matter. She had to go to trial. Fortunately, she was found not guilty, but now she has been trying to find another job. She gets this call from this woman who is looking for an obstetrician. She goes to the interview. Next thing she knows, she wakes up at a cult. And the people at this cult, specifically the lady that kidnapped her, tells her that she's going to stay here because they need a doctor on hand, because basically all the women in this cult are pregnant. And so they need help with the deliveries. And they specifically need help with this one delivery in particular because they know this woman is going to need a C-section. Now, this doctor that they kidnapped, she obviously does not agree with anything that is going on. She wants to go home, but she is very conflicted because she's trying to figure out a way to leave, but she's also a doctor. And so she knows that people need help. and she's trying to help them, but she's mad about helping them because she's like, you guys kidnapped me. So basically it's us following this doctor. She's helping deliver these babies in this cult. Now, I'm not sure if that sounds entertaining to you guys, but I was really entertained. And I just really felt for this doctor because I couldn't imagine being so pissed off that somebody kidnapped me, but also I'm a doctor, so I feel like I have to help somebody. I don't know how I would feel in that situation. And like I said, I love any sort of cult story. And this isn't like a unique cult that she's a part of. They're on this big like compound. I'm pretty sure that's what they call it. This compound that's secluded in the middle of nowhere. All of the women have like, you know, really long hair. They're wearing long skirts, and they're getting married young and having kids young. And some of them have a lot of kids. So it's your typical cult story. I will say I gave this one 4 stars. I probably would have given it like 5 if there was something a little bit more unique about the cult. But outside of that, I really had a fun time with this one. I told everybody that was around about it, and I hope you guys check it out because I think it is definitely worth the read. So now we're gonna go ahead and move into the books that I actually have copies of. Most of these are my book of the month picks that I've gotten throughout these last couple of months. So I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about the 2 that are not book of the month. We're gonna start with those first. So first up, we have Escape by Stephen Fishbach. I unfortunately DNF'd this, and it was really sad because I was really looking forward to this. I felt like this was a story that I knew that I was going to love. So this is a adult thriller. So in this one, we actually follow 2 different POVs. We follow this reality TV star. He's older. He's an older guy, and he was like on a survival reality TV show like years prior, and he's kind of like missing all of the fame and attention that he got while he was a popular reality TV star at the time. And then we're following this producer, and she is coming off of a scandal, and she is trying to find her next gig, basically. And so there is this new survival reality TV show that is about to start filming. And this guy that we're following, he gets asked to do it along with some new people and then some other reality TV stars. They're all asked to come and do this. And then this producer gets reached out to, and she is asked to help with the production. And basically, I thought the idea of this like new survival reality TV game was actually pretty interesting. So basically, this group of people are going to be stuck on this island. And not only are they trying to survive on this island, but they're also trying to get off. And so what they're trying to do is get off the island, but then go to like another island where there is this treasure chest. And I think each day, like $20,000 is getting added to this chest. So at any point, you can try to go over there and get the money, but if you wait it out, I think it's like 50 days or something like that. If you wait till the very end, there will be up to $1 million in that chest. And so basically, you know, they're trying to survive. I unfortunately had to DNF this chapter 16, page 124. I was just bored. It was a really slow start. I understand that we were trying to get some like backstory into like the 2 characters that we follow, but I honestly did not care. Once we got over to the island, I also really just, I don't know, I just didn't care. It was not moving fast enough for me. And this is a pretty thick book. Like, it's 430 pages. And I just, anytime I put this down, I just was not interested enough to really want to pick it back up. And I do think that this is pretty interesting because the guy that wrote this, I'm pretty sure he used to be on, he was a contestant on The Survivor at one point. So that made me even more intrigued just because he's very familiar with like a survival reality TV show. Unfortunately, I just found this one to be very boring and I had to put it down. Next up, we have Skyhunter by Marie Lu. This is the first book in a duology. This is a YA dystopian duology. And this is actually one of the books that I put on my fantasy TBR that I wanted to read by the end of the year. So I finally picked up something from that TBR. And I am shocked that it has taken me so long to pick this up, because everything that I have read from Marie Lu thus far, I have really enjoyed, and I enjoyed this one. I gave this 4 stars. So this is your typical YA dystopian. We are in this nation that is trying to do everything that it can to not be overtaken by the Federation. The Federation has already taken over everyone else, and this is the last nation that they need. And so these people are trying whatever they can to not be overtaken by the Federation. And basically they have these people that are called strikers. And strikers are the ones that are these trained fighters that are gonna fight the Federation, specifically these ghosts that the Federation lets go into these nations. And basically these ghosts are humans that have been modified into these horrific monsters, and the only way that you can kill the monsters is by slitting their throat. But the thing about that is that they wear these chains, so it's hard to get to their throats. It's a whole thing, but they have these group of people who are trained to fight these ghosts. We follow one of them in particular. Her name is Talon, and Talon is mute. So she has to do sign language in order to communicate with people, which I thought was really interesting because I have not read a book with a mute character before. So I really enjoyed that part. But we're following her, and one day this person is captured from the Federation, and he is set to be executed during the town meeting or town hall or wherever, where he's going to get executed in front of everybody. Talon steps up and she tells him not to do it. There's something about this guy that she's like, I don't think we should kill him. And they're like, fine, then if you don't want us to kill him, then you have to watch out for him. And so the story just kind of takes off from there. We learn some things about this guy and why he was trying to flee the Federation, and the story just kind of goes from there. I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed the characters, especially Talon. I enjoyed the other characters that we followed, the side characters, because I feel like we got a lot of backstory about them and why they all decided to be strikers and why they have different motivations for trying to protect their nation, their country, whatever you want to call it. And I really enjoyed that. And I really enjoyed what we found out about this guy. That is something that I was not expecting. Everything else was a little bit predictable because, like I said, this is your typical YA dystopian. They all kind of have that same formula. But I gave this one 4 stars, and I am excited to check out the next one, which I believe is called Steel Striker. So where this one ended, I'm definitely excited to see where this is going to conclude. So now we're going to move into my last 4 books that I want to talk about, which are my book of the month picks. So first up, we have Pretty Dead Things by Kelsey Cox. This is a adult thriller, and I was excited about this one because I have been wanting to check out something from this author. Their debut novel was Party of Liars, which I heard really good things about. Have not read it yet, but I saw this one available, so I wanted to go ahead and check this out. We're following this woman, and she is coming back home to her hometown. And we find out that years prior, 20 or so years prior, her twin sister disappeared. And nobody in this small Texas town ever knew what happened to her. So that is lingering in the background. Then we're following a whole host of characters. We're following some teenagers, we're following some mothers, and these people are getting ready for a pageant. And if you are not aware, the pageantry industry is real big down in Texas. And these people are getting ready for this pageant. And some things happen the day of the pageant that also kind of ties into this missing girl, and that is the story. It took a while for things, in my opinion, to really start moving in this story. We are following so many different POVs, And then within those POVs, we have different side characters. So it took a little bit of time to even get familiar with everybody and remember who everybody is and where they fit in with this story. I did like that we got some like flashback chapters that were randomly interspersed throughout the story that kind of gave you some insight into what happened to this missing girl. I also like that this touched a lot on pageant culture and like how serious and cutthroat it is. Fun fact, I was actually in a pageant back when I was in high school. I didn't get that far, but it takes a lot of work. I was like going to these after school preparation little meetings for like weeks leading up to this. So being in a pageant is serious. And so I really liked that in here. And then I did like some of the characters. And I'm gonna say I wasn't that shocked by the ending. I kind of called it. I was able to figure out what was going on. I just couldn't figure out why. So overall, I ended up giving this one 3 stars. While it didn't really blow me completely away like I thought it was going to, I still do want to check out Party of Liars. If you guys have read that one, let me know if it's worth me even trying to check out. But this one I thought was fine. Okay, moving into the books that I am so excited to talk about. So first up, we have Ken by Tayari Jones. So this is a adult fiction. I have been wanting to check out something from this author. So I was really excited when Book of the Month had this as a pick earlier in the year. Now I am gonna say, by the time that I decided to pick this up, I was a little nervous because I had started seeing a lot of mixed reviews about this one. And so I did not really know how I was gonna feel about it, but I ultimately enjoyed it. So in this, we're following these 2 girls, Vernice and Annie, and they're like, I can't remember the exact word that they used for them, but they're like crib sisters because they both were abandoned by their mothers. One of the girls, her mother just took off when she was a baby and hasn't been seen from since. And then the other girl, her mother was actually murdered. And so there are 2 girls that are motherless. And this like takes place down south in like the 1960s. Potentially. It doesn't necessarily say when, but that's the vibe that I'm getting. And because down south, they're still dealing with like racism and all of that. So yeah, I think that's the time period. But we're following these 2 girls as they're growing up. They become best friends, but they each take different paths in life. One girl is dead set on trying to find her mother. So this is the girl whose mother just took off one day. She is determined to find out where her mother is. Like this has been something that she has not been able to let go of. And then the other girl, she is going off to college and she is just trying to live her life. So basically we're following these girls as they are trying to live their life. And we see how being raised without a mother, we see how that affects like other relationships that they try to have. It kind of affects the different decisions that they make and the reasons for the decisions that they are making. And I really enjoyed this one. I enjoyed it way more than I thought I was going to by the time that I got to this. I will say, I gave this 4 stars. I would have given it 5 stars if we had a different ending. I feel like the ending was very abrupt. And when I was getting to like the last 2 to 3 pages, I was like, there's no way we are going to leave it there. I felt like we needed another 20 pages. If the ending would have been a little bit different, this would have been 5 stars, hands down. But I really enjoyed the characters. I really enjoyed watching them on their different paths. I liked some of the side characters. I liked some of the relationships that they were having. I really liked a majority of the story. That ending though, could have been something different. So I'm glad that I picked this up, and I really want to check out something else from this author. I think the next one that I want to pick up, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think another really popular book of theirs is An American Marriage. So after reading this one, I definitely need to pick up something else from this author. So and now we are going to be moving into my 5-star reads, and I'm so excited to talk about those. So the first 5-star that we have is Mad Mabel by Sally Hempworth. This is a adult mystery, and honestly, this shocked me that I enjoyed it as much as I did. But the one reason, I'm just gonna tell you right now, the one reason that I really enjoyed this one is because of our main character, Mabel. So in this one, we're following Mabel, and Mabel is basically living her life. She's like in her 80s, and she's just trying to live a quiet life. Her next door neighbor actually ends up dying, and her little 7-year-old neighbor Persephone is the one that said that that guy was dead. So Mabel goes over and tries to check on him, but that then turns into her kind of being investigated for that neighbor's death. Then you come to find out throughout the story that Mabel was actually the first young girl convicted murderer. So then this story flips back and forth between timelines, between her when she was growing up and what is currently going on now. Mabel is a fantastic character. Now, I have already said this a few times on my channel, but I've really been enjoying reading characters that are older, specifically like elderly characters. I think the stories are so much more entertaining coming from an older character. And Mabel was very, very entertaining. And while I found a lot of things that she said and did hilarious, especially when it comes to her 7-year-old neighbor Persephone, the banter between them is hilarious. I also found myself feeling really sad for Mabel because nobody knew about her past, and because of this neighbor's death, her past is now coming back up, and her neighbors are starting to find out, and she's starting to be like harassed and tormented, and it just really made me feel sad. And you guys know I don't really have a lot of emotions when I read, but this one I was really feeling bad for her. I also really enjoyed the flashback chapters. I really liked getting more insight into Mabel and like her personality and the events leading up to this murder that she was convicted of. And then the ending, did not see that coming. I feel like I kind of had like a little bit of an inkling, but definitely was taken by surprise. And that last little chapter that we get, I really, really enjoyed that too. This is my favorite book that I have read by Sally Hempworth thus far. Really, really enjoyed this one. I cannot recommend this enough. If you are easily entertained by elderly characters, I suggest that you pick this one up. Specifically, if you've read Samantha's Downing Too Old for This, I think that's what that's called. Yeah, Too Old for This, that came out last year. I think that you would really, really enjoy this one. So please check this out. The last book that I have to talk about in my last 5-star read, this one took me by surprise because I had no expectations going into it, and that is Nothing Tastes as Good by Luke Dumas. This is a adult horror, and for this to be a horror story, I related so much with this book. So in this one, we're following our main character, Emmett. Emmett is overweight. He's like over 300 pounds. And that obviously is something that he has struggled with his entire life. And so one day, I think he was like scrolling through social media. He sees this ad for this like experimental trial for a weight loss drug. He ends up getting approved, and the thing about this weight loss drug is apparently you can take it, not have to worry about your diet, not have to worry about exercising, and you will lose weight. So he's like, great, sign me up. So he gets approved, he starts taking the medicine, and that is indeed what happens. The weight starts to come off extremely fast. However, since he has been in this experimental trial, people have started dying. And they think that it might have something to do with Emmett and this weight loss drug, and the story just kind of takes off from there. Absolutely love this. And I think what I loved about it so much was how much I kind of related to it. As somebody whose weight has fluctuated throughout the years, I completely empathized with Emmett and his situation in wanting to take this experimental drug. Throughout the story, now this is told in like police investigation interviews, blog posts, social media posts, and basically throughout all of that, you actually get some backstory into Emmett and why he is so fixated on his weight and his relationship with food and where that came from. Heartbreaking story. I just liked all of the commentary that this provided on diet culture and how, especially how like people will judge you about being overweight. And then as soon as you start to lose the weight, then people have a lot of negative things to say about that, such as, you know, don't lose too much, or, you know, you're doing too much. Make sure you're not losing too much. It's like, what do you want me to do? I am overweight, so I'm trying to lose the weight, but now you don't want me to lose too much weight. So I'm a little confused. And that is what Emmett is dealing with. So in the beginning, when he's like losing the weight, it feels good. People are, you know, giving him compliments and being more supportive. And then as the weight continues to go off, you see people's reactions to him kind of change. Now, I did say that this is a horror, which it is, but I feel like the horror elements of this really don't kick in until about the last third of the story. So if you're looking for something that is like horror throughout, this isn't going to do it for you. But the last few scenes of this book, I was not expecting. I would actually love to see this be made into like a movie, a show, something, because I would love to see how they would create like the last scene of the story. Like, I need to see that on screen. I can see that this story probably wouldn't be for everybody, and that's fine. But if you like a bit of commentary in your story, I think this would be good for you. If you like a horror story that also really focuses on the characters, specifically Emmett, he's the main character that we follow, and that's who we are focused on. So if that is something that interests you, I think you should check this out. And I think if you're trying to get into horror and you want like a little bit of light horror, I guess you could probably check this out as well. But I love this. This is probably one of the best books that I have read so far this year. This is one of those stories that I had to tell everybody about. This is something that has been on my mind since I read it. There have been like random times where I have thought about certain parts of this story. I just connected with this way more than I thought I was going to, and I will definitely pick up something else from this author. So that is all that I have for you guys. So if you have read any of these books, please let me know in the comments down below. But I will see you guys next time. Bye.